to Austin, man. Cause we Austin, Texas, marching, stepping, hands on our weapons, cause boys be flexing. Kelly in the game like a pin 'em off the chain. These boys are hard to tame, can't do nothing love it, man. Cause we Austin, Texas, marching, stepping, hands on our weapons, cause boys be flexing. Kelly in the game like a pin 'em off the chain. The boys are hard to tame, can't do nothing love it, man. When I be flousing while they lousing and them boys gon' hate. Some boys be popping trunk, but I be popping tailgate. The trophy truck, sit no book, I'm about to get me.
What's up, world? This is Albert Redeaux, a.k.a. Mad Creole for the Austin Icons podcast. Today's guest is a legendary Austin DJ who's helped launch a lot of Austin underground talent. Man, I want y'all to welcome the White Brother, or a.k.a. WB. What's up, man? What's going on?
How's it going? It's been a long time since we've actually talked. I mean, we've been conversing through email and Facebook and message and everything. Yeah.
The new, that's how everybody talks now, right? You don't see nobody anymore. Really just talk to people on the phone.
Right. That's a whole other subject for a whole other show. We probably don't need to get into it.
Well, man, we're going to get it started from the beginning. Very, very, very beginning. So where were you raised? Where are you from originally?
Well, actually, I grew up in, well, I pretty much grew up in Taylor, Texas. I wasn't born in Taylor. I was born in San Antonio, but I grew up in Taylor pretty much all my life.
Okay. And so are you part of like a musical family, or are you the only one that DJs and does music?
The only one, unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
The only one.
Well, then,
and it's weird because, like I said, I got into radio, and everybody, and if people that don't know the story, my whole thing getting into my radio was when I used to go around with my grandpa when he would babysit me. He would take me around to bars where he used to go drink all the time. So back then, I guess they allowed you, as long as you had the kid with you, I guess they allowed you to go in there.
Yeah, they did.
So it turns out that I happened to go into a bar to where a DJ worked at a country radio station from here in Taylor, and he invited me to come and visit his show one day, and I went there and fell in love with it, and he taught me how to do everything at the station. I was only in the 6th grade in elementary school, and I was going on Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. in the morning, and he would train me to do everything at that age.
So was that in Taylor? He was doing that?
In Taylor, yes. It was on an AM station, KTAE 1260 AM.
All right. Shout out to them if they're still in existence.
They're not. It's a sports channel now. So.
Well, shout out to it when it was in existence. So when you were a kid, when you were like smaller, did you like gravitate to certain type of music, or did you know you kind of had some kind of a musical thing going on with you when you were younger?
Well, it was country. It was country music at that time. I played country music and polkas. I even did the news at 6th grade in elementary school, and they thought I was an adult.
Oh, okay. And so, what about your DJ skills when you did go in there to learn? You know, as far as going in Taylor and learning.
I was in high school. I was in high school when I went back to the radio station. It was still going on, and I was in high school then. I went back and I started more training and everything. But I mean, it's a weird story because the guy that was training me, he actually died of a brain aneurysm during the months he was training me. And I was supposed to take over his show, but because he died the way he did, his son ended up taking over the show instead of me. And that's when I kind of got pissed off. And I lingered over from a country music show into an R&B show, and that's when I met Rodney J.
Okay.
Rodney J had an R&B show on the station, and he was real popular at that time. And so I started hanging out with him, and that's how I transitioned from country music to R&B.
Got you. So up to that time, were you even like listening to rap or R&B or any of that?
I knew nothing about R&B as far as the old school music goes. I mean, I knew it because I listened to Casey Kasem's American Top 40, so I knew the soul songs that came on there, but I didn't know in depth about anything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, now you can ask me anything, and I know everything. But
right. So basically, as a teenager, it was probably more country or you know, just whatever top 40 was going on at the time.
Right. So Rodney J has passed away now. Rest in peace to him and everything. But he taught me everything as far as the R&B part of it goes, and as far as the hip hop goes. Yes, I learned on that side of things through him.
Okay, okay. And then, so when you finally, I guess that'd have been after high school. Then, after you graduated, then what was your next move from that point?
Well, I stayed like DJing, mobile DJing wise. I was a mobile DJ and had my own equipment and everything. So I did a lot of mobile DJing. And then first I came in contact with a guy doing a record pool at the time. I never heard of a record pool, didn't know what it was, and I met another DJ. I can't remember where I met him, but he hooked me up with the guy in the record pool, and the guy doing the record pool, his name was actually Steve Savage, and
So shout out to Steve.
so I hooked up to his record pool and everything, and I didn't know anything about the station where he was at the time, and he told me about the station where he was at, which is KAZI 88.7 FM, and he invited me to come there and check it out and everything. And so I started doing a show in the afternoons. It was a more of a jazz R&B type show at that time in the afternoons, and he was just a normal DJ himself at the time.
Okay.
But I think he might have been a music director or something. But
What year was this? When was this? What
this
time
was
frame?
this was 93 in 1993.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And so you relocated? Or you just came down just to visit?
In Austin's just a hop, skip, and jump from Taylor, so it's like,
Right.
and that's where I worked anyway. Most of my places I worked at was in out of town, so that's
Okay,
where I worked at in Austin. So it wasn't a big drive to me. A lot of people are like, oh, you drove that every day, and I'm like, yeah, but it's nothing to me. It's nothing to me. So yeah, I went there and I started doing the show, and I was there for like 20-some years. Yeah.
Okay, so now wait a minute, back up. Record pool. Explain to people, because some people may not understand what a record pool, was. I don't know if they even do anything close to that anymore. This might not even be a thing anymore.
Well, I'm still part of a record pool, but it basically deals with MP3s and stuff. They send you MP3s and that's it.
Okay.
But back in the day when I joined his record pool, it was all about vinyl. They gave you everything that was on vinyl. Came through the record pool. All the new releases, all the 12-inch versions of songs and everything, it came through vinyl. So you basically got everything on vinyl. Then it started going to CDs, and you got everything on CDs as well. So pretty much all the new releases that came out, artists or their marketing team will go through these record pools to distribute their product to get to DJs.
Okay, and that's something I think the audience and younger people maybe that didn't weren't back in those days, they didn't understand. That's how your favorite artists and groups and companies and even marketing people that work for the record labels. That's how they would get the artists' music pushed to all the DJs in different regions.
Right.
They would go through these record pools.
And I strongly feel that some of these younger artists these days that are trying to come out now, they wouldn't be even out at all because they're too lazy to do all that.
Yeah, it's man. Back then, it was a definite system. it was a really, and then you had to pay. Did the DJs pay for their record pools, or did they just get it free? How did that work?
Well, the DJs had to pay a monthly fee for the record pools because that's how come. Like for example, Steve Savage was the manager, was the person running his record pool, which was called S&S Record Pool at the time, and he would charge a fee for the pool. That was only because a lot of his DJs were out of town, so he had to mail their stuff to them.
Okay, got you.
And plus, it was just a fee for his time for gathering up everything and putting everything together and stuff being sent to him, and then he got to send everything out. So yeah, it was just a fee for him basically for doing it. So yeah, so all the DJs had no problem paying that fee as long as they got new stuff, And
man, that's crazy.
My first time
think
doing the
that the
record pool
DJs
was
would
like,
pay like that.
I had a big box and do what?
I said that's crazy. You're just thinking you guys just paying money, and then it's like all these records just coming to you. But continue.
And basically record pools are for the DJs to actually go through the records, and they would pick out the songs that they liked, and they would add them songs to their rotation or to their party list, whatever they were DJing at, and that's pretty much how it worked. And then plus you reported to the record pool what songs you were playing, what songs you were rotating, and then Steve, I guess, he would report back to the record companies on what songs were hot.
Got you. So okay, so it was a full system for the record
definitely.
labels to be able to keep a track of what's going on with their songs because the record companies, didn't they have to also they would pay to go through the record pool itself?
I'm not sure. I think some of it might have been, some of it might not, because I know Steve was a part of record labels, and the record labels that he was involved with, they would automatically send him the new stuff once they got it.
Gotcha, because they want him to get it. They didn't care about they needed
Right.
the DJs to get it. Because
Right.
I remember,
and if he did get most of it free, like I said, it's only understandable that he would charge a fee to get it out to everybody. You know.
So then, after you kind of have you joined KZI at that moment? You say you're DJing, you were doing the jazz show kind of thing at that moment.
Yeah, I did that. I did overnight programming also, to where you could play very much what you wanted and everything. And it was when I got to overnight is when I started getting a feel for local artists were coming to me wanting to play their music. And what's funny is that even though it was 93, 94, and even though CDs were around, and CDs had already been out and everything, it was hard to get stuff on a blank CD. So at that time, I was still getting artists bringing me cassettes.
Okay.
They were still bringing me cassettes, and so I was playing some music off of cassettes, and I thought that was really interesting from back then.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even know that.
and one of the first artists that ever brought me a cassette, and it was one of the first local artists I ever played on KZI, was Nook.
Oh wow. Okay. Shout out to Nook. That's all right. So that was the first one. It was on cassette.
Yeah.
Man, that shows you that's dated for real there, boy. Man, that's messed up.
Yeah.
So then after that, after you started getting, is that the first time that you really started noticing that there was a kind of a market there for the underground DJ, underground artist?
Well, I knew there was some kind of market going on at the time, because, like I said, I wasn't the first DJ to play local music.
Right.
A lot of people claimed that I claimed that, and I said, no, it's not me that claims that. Somebody else started that rumor or whatever. But no, before me, like I said, other people, like Jay Hunt, and Jay Hunt was at KZI before me, so I think he was playing some local music as well. But I felt like I will say this also, is that I feel like even though they were playing the local music, nobody actually advocated for it like I did.
Yeah, no, I can attest to that. There's two things from that statement that I can because I was there back then. One, so that everybody knows that Jay Hunt and DJ Southpaw, that's the official ATX. Where I don't care what anybody tries to tell me, I heard it first from their mouths. They were the bad boys of the ATX. That's the first time I ever heard that term used, like on radio. Just because it was constant, and they did it at shows, and they did it whenever they were DJing. But when they did local music, it was more of and again, it was other DJs too that would play some local music, but it was more like they would get some of it, play a little of it, and go back to their show.
They would mix it in with the regular music, and they wouldn't tell you. But some people like that, though. Some artists actually like that because
I was a fan of that.
They didn't want to be known as local artists, supposedly.
Right.
And
right. I was a fan of that. I liked it because they played some of my music back then, stuff that I produced as well, and I love the fact that it just blended in. It really wasn't, new to the game. It was just blended right in. You didn't even know whether or not it was, if it was local or not local. So yeah, they did it like that, and a lot of other DJs did that too. But when it comes to you, no, and we're getting close to where we, to the main point of where you really, really just blew up, and that was, I remember you all of a sudden there was this show that just popped out of nowhere, man.
All right. After being there for a couple of years, I felt like, okay, well, let me kind of put a name brand on something. So in '96 is when I proposed to do a show, and it did start overnight. It was still basically overnight, about 12 midnight at night. I called it the Texas Artist Showcase.
Yes,
and it was geared just for Texas artists. independent or whatever. If you were a Texas artist, you can get played on the show. So that's why I called it. And pretty much from there is when all the Texas artists started sending me music.
Man,
and even though I wanted it to be a Texas thing, it was still predominantly an Austin thing because everybody was listening to KZI. And that was
That's
back
right.
before. Back before we was on internet and everything.
Correct. That was definitely before the internet. And man, I'll tell you, that was a huge. I mean, when I say huge, that show was like bigger than life. I mean, it hit, and I mean every artist that I know of, and like you said, there's artists in other cities and towns in Texas that were coming down here and utilizing that vehicle because it was just. I mean, it blew up. I mean, as soon as you put it out, it was people just jumping to get on the radio, man. It was crazy. How was that? How was it formatted? Like, how did you figure that out? How to format it?
During that time, there was a Texas Artist Showcase from '96 and '99. Basically, I was just spotlighting artists, and I would interview them sometimes and play their music. That's pretty much what I did from till '99. Then in '99 is when it was still a Texas Artist Showcase, but then I started a countdown along with it, based on requests and based on who was getting the attention at the time. I started a countdown. It was more of like a, I think I started out. It started out to be a top 10, then it went to top 20 because I was getting overwhelmed with too many artists, and then even from 20 it went to top 40. I think at one time because I had that many artists.
Wow.
But
wow, and it filled up pretty quick, man. I mean, I could. It was a great show.
Pretty quick, and also during that times when I kind of had to scrutinize a little bit more, and artists started getting mad at me when I tell them that I couldn't play the song because it didn't sound right.
Yeah, and that's something you are infamous for. I guess you have like the Charlemagne the God now. That would be probably equivalent of what your persona was. Right. On the radio, you would definitely tell people, "Hey man, this ain't gonna get it," or this right here ain't right.
And before I started the countdown, I would play just about anything and everything, no matter how it sounded, and just to show the love. But I would also get criticized from KZI personnel. Hey, this song sounds too terrible. They didn't want me to play it, but I would play it anyway. But when I started the countdown, I felt like, okay, well, to be more professional, because I was a big fan of Casey Kasem's Top 40 back in the day, and I like countdown formatted shows, I felt like, well, I got to do something to where it kind of draws a line to where I can't play this if it sounds like this or if it sounds like that. And that's pretty much what I started doing.
Yeah. See, and that was awesome. It was awesome to some. I tell people this all the time when I go to the radio stations. Even now to this day, a lot of people call it hating or that oh man, they won't play my music because of this, that, and the other. And I always took it like as criticism was necessary because it's a part of the game, man. And if it's not up to standard, or if the DJs are not liking it. I looked at it because I knew all you guys. So my mind was on if I handed it to you and then you were like, it's all right. And then I handed it to, one of the other DJs and they go, it's all right. I'm pretty much it's all right. It doesn't mean it's great. It didn't mean that, but some of those people were like, no, this is a hit. This is a hit and you got to play it. And, this is the greatest thing I ever did in life. And they didn't really want that scrutiny. And they didn't want to, to get that. They wanted just you to play it. And I get it. I understand that. And sometimes it may have felt like there was a gatekeeper there. I can't get my music played because of, one or two, some politics or something that was going on, But it was really, awesome scene. It was at that time, I think that was probably one of the largest shows. It has to be one of the largest shows in KZI, in Austin history.
Yeah, whether they want to admit it or not. But even during that time, like I said, when I started that countdown time around 99, 2000, that's when the Houston scene started blowing up. And that's when I started getting more Houston artists coming than I would Austin artists.
Okay.
So I was getting scrutinized for that too because they were like, oh, you're showing too much love to Houston. I'm like, well, they're the ones bringing me the product. I mean, and actually at that time, and a big portion during that time, a lot of the Houston artists, they were the ones bringing me the quality product. You know?
Right.
You know,
And
they would
yeah.
bring it to me already pressed up with posters and promotions and stuff like that. And Austin artists weren't doing that yet, or they were uneducated on the business on how to do that. You know.
And see, that's a good question. That was something I was gonna ask you. So the artists that would bring you their promo, I mean, was that one of the criterias that you had back then, that when they would bring in their music or send you the music, that's how you were kind of looking at it, like, okay, they have posters, flyers, or
it impressed me more if they had promotional stuff with it. But a lot of times the Austin artists, they would just bring me there on a blank CD with the marker on it, you know, fresh out of the studio or whatever, and I would take it like that. If it sounded good, I didn't care what it was on, you know.
Is that still the same case even in the I guess today's time? If artists are sending you things, you know, through the internet, you know, it's a little different, but is it still a criteria for you that they have some kind of promotions or promos or websites or whatever going on?
Well, I guess we'll get to that, but yeah, but for right now, as far as the latest stuff, it's like it's hard to really put a finger on it. I mean, it's like some stuff I like, some stuff I don't like, and excuse me. But anyway, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought.
You said it's hard for like in this time frame.
Yeah, well, in this day of age, I think that artists, and I hate to say this, is that they're lazy enough to where they just send you their MP3 file and they won't send anything else except that. So artists will send. So nowadays, artists will send me files, and I won't know where they're from or whatever.
Right.
If I like the song, I'll email them back and ask, "Hey, where you from?" You know.
Right.
And,
right.
You know, and then they'll tell me. You know, but it's the ones that come out that send me their bios and send me all their links and all that stuff. Those are the ones I'm more impressed with from jump, the ones that do it the way it actually should be done.
Got you. So now, like you said, we're not going to go forward. We're going to stay in the time frame. So now we back in the countdown. We're working on that. Right. And then from that point, what happened after, well, I guess you could say when it ended. I mean, I know it had a conclusion, and then you went to do something else. So what happened at that point?
Well, I'm not going to go into all the big details because that's some of it's nobody's business. But I will say, I left KZI in 2003. It's when I left KZI. So from 99 to 2003, the countdown was going strong pretty much. Then in 2003, I left KZI for various reasons. And the countdown just pretty much ended, and nobody took it over. I didn't appoint nobody to take it over. So it just stopped.
Okay.
It just stopped. Of course, DJs kept on playing local artists. They kept on playing independent artists and everything. So I applaud all the ones that kept on doing it and everything. But I was gone from KZI for like 8 years before I came back again. But see, after that, all I'm gonna say in a nutshell is that when I left in 2003, after that, it wasn't the same again. Because even when I went back 8 years later, it could never be the same as it was. You know?
Right. So now we out of that time frame. What did you do after that? Actually, what was you doing the 8 years that you weren't there? Like what were you doing?
Well, let's see. During the 8 years, I got married a couple of times, divorced a couple of times.
It's called life, people.
Right. And so, yeah, so between all that, it's just that I'm not saying I never was interested in going back to KZI until 2010. That's when I hooked up with Steve again. And to this time, Steve Savage, he became general manager of the station.
Okay.
And so it's like, well, actually, when I left in 2003, he was already general manager of the station, but he was still there in 2010. And I guess because so many years have gone past, he invited me to come back, and that's when I went back. Started doing a show called The Midnight Ride, and I still had a small countdown on there, but like I said, it wasn't the same, and I still played independent artists, and I played major artists as well. I kind of mixed it up at that time, but I was still showing love to independent artists like I was with the original countdown, but I just couldn't do it the way it was because of other things happening at the station.
Right. So then from 2010, after 2010, then what did you do from that point? Or where'd you go?
I just pretty much I was at KZI until 2020.
Okay, got you. So you stayed for another 10 years.
Another 10 years doing the midnight ride.
Okay.
With various co-hosts throughout the 10 years and everything, but throughout the 10 years, I always showed love to the independent artists and everything. And just like I said, it just never felt the same as it was when I first started in 99 and 94. It wasn't. It was the same. It was different. The politics was different. The DJs were different. I didn't get along with some of the DJs. That's all I'm going to say. And then because of that,
it fizzled out. So then what'd you do in 2020? What changed?
Well, in 2020, that's when it was right when COVID hit, when the COVID stuff started happening. And I was there for a couple of months while the COVID stuff was going on and everything. And then I left KZI due to some other misunderstandings and everything. And I'm like, you know what? I could do this on my own. And that's how Insanely Gifted Radio came about.
Now, Insanely Gifted Radio. Okay, where did you come up with the name for that?
Well, it was funny because I've been producing music for artists for years before that as well, outside of DJing. And one of the artists I was producing, I guess he'd heard some of my tracks, and he's made a comment one day, and he was like, "Man, you're insanely gifted." And as soon as he said that, that name took.
Name stuck.
And I have no idea where he's at today. But if ever I see him or whatever, I'll tell him, "Hey, I give you credit for that insanely gifted name."
Right. Oh, and before I forget, now, see, you started doing production. When did you start producing and rapping, producing, and just getting involved in hip hop as well?
I was producing the whole time. I right out of high school, I started. Well, I worked with somebody else that was doing all the production. And this is when he was doing. This person was doing the production, and then I would do the rapping. I started rapping and doing some vocals myself, and started dabbling in it and everything. And so it turned out to where he did all the music side of it. Well, we called him 007. I forgot.
Okay.
He goes by. I can't think what he goes by now. But anyway, he's still out there. I still talk to him every now and then. But anyway, back then we was working on music, and all of a sudden he up and joined the Army, and left me, And so I was stuck getting my own equipment, learning my own stuff, and I was like, I had to start back to square one. And so I did that, and we never really hooked back up after that. But I kept on doing it for myself, and pretty much that's how I got started on the production side of it.
What type of instruments or what were you playing? Were you sampling at that time, or were you playing? I was
doing a little bit of sampling, but I remember back in the day, back before computers came around, I was using it was a Yamaha DX7 keyboard. Okay. Ooh.
Yeah, man. Oh man, that was a bad board though.
That was my first keyboard, and I had a sequencer. I had some kind of sequencer, but I can't think of. Now you asked. I can't think of what it was. But I used this. I think it was a Roland. It was a Roland drum sequencer or something like that. But I had that going with my Yamaha DX7 and a Tascam 4-track recorder is what I recorded.
There you go. I knew I was going. I knew it was coming. I was talking to Casanova, man. He had me rolling. He was telling me about. I did not know that Army Man was done on I think he said like a 4-track or something, and he just got it, and he just got the thing, and he just started. He literally got all his equipment to produce the music that day. So he just started like doing all the learning how to do it, and he just did it, went to the studio and dropped the album. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me. It's like 4 hours of learning. I said, man, this dude is on a whole nother level with this thing, man.
Right,
so but yeah, man, I knew it was a track something coming, a 4-track, 8-track.
And then when I upgraded a little bit, I went from a Tascam 4-track to a Tascam 8-track. And had an 8-track, and then I went from a Yamaha DX7 to the Sonic EPS 16 Plus.
Yes, man, the EPS is baby. Here we go.
And that was really the bomb, and that's when my sampling skills started happening when I got that.
Yeah, that's game changer right there. That was it. That board took over the world. I mean, that was it. If you were a producer at that time frame, and you didn't have an EPS, it's something wrong with you.
I still got the rack mount today. I haven't got it hooked up right now, but I still got it back in the closet somewhere.
Ooh, man, mine went down, and oh God, I never forget when it went down. It broke my heart into pieces when I lost my EPS. But yeah, okay, so now you producing, and you were doing this at the same time as you was doing the countdown, then, correct?
As I was DJing, yes, but the thing is with KZI, to keep the political side of it going, is that even though I was producing music and doing music myself and other artists, I couldn't play any artists that I produced myself.
Okay, gotcha.
That was the rule. So a lot of artists didn't want to work with me because they knew that even if something came out good, that I couldn't play it. So that kind of inhibited me on working with a lot of artists because they knew that I couldn't play the stuff.
So, man, you kind of sacrificed your own career and creativity as a producer to actually help the local artists and underground artists to make sure that they got their shine. A lot of people don't know that. The people don't know that. That's honorable.
And like I said, I got 2 CDs out myself. I'm working on a third one right now. But over the years, like I said, I knew I couldn't play my stuff, so I went all out and went. Well, you know how I was back then.
Yeah. So now we're in COVID. We're in the COVID, and you decide to create Insanely Gifted Radio, and you like you said, so you popped off the name. How long did it take you to get all the equipment and to figure out how to do it and to put it up together and get your marketing and everything
from
together?
leaving KZI to getting Insanely Gifted Radio started, it was like a day.
Oh, wow. Oh, you was up and running.
Because I already knew how to do it, and actually Insanely Gifted Radio was up, but I wasn't pushing it because I was just experimenting with it, you know.
Okay.
And I even got drama at KZI because they wanted to make sure I wasn't saying Insanely Gifted Radio on their station.
Right. Yeah. So, what is the official launch date for Insanely Gifted Radio?
So my official launch date of actually pushing Insanely Gifted Radio when I left KZI actually is July 1st. July 1st of 2020. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So,
because I left in June, I left KZI in June, and then next month is when I started Insanely Gifted Radio.
So, what is the goal of Insanely Gifted Radio when you created it? What was the whole thought behind it, and what did you want to accomplish when you created it?
Well, with Insanely Gifted Radio, because it's worldwide and everything. I mean, even though KZI was, I guess you say worldwide also, this enabled me to actually broaden my genre of music, because now I started taking in independent artists from country, from pop, rock, every genre of music that there was, I would take in, and a lot of it came from overseas. So my station right now, I got a lot of listeners that listen from overseas, that listen to their artists on the independent side of things when I do the independent shows on the station.
Got you. So it expanded. It really gave you a big expansion, especially with the artists themselves. Now you're getting all kind of artists all over the world.
And also with the help of somebody that came on board with me on the Insanely Gifted Radio, Tavarin Marshall is his name. He helped me out for a few years on Insanely Gifted Radio, but through him we became part of the Independent Singer-Songwriter Association and everything. And for 3 years in a row, my station was nominated for Radio Station of the Year. Of course, none of the 3 years we won, but at least we were nominated, and I thought that
awesome.
was a big thing to be nominated, because the independent artists that we were playing their stuff, they were the ones that would nominate me.
Correct, and I think that's the world. That's not a little drop in the hat. You know, that's the world that you getting. Man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
I was interviewing rock bands from Seattle all the way to
that's awesome.
in China.
See, that's awesome. So now that we're in the current stat, so you're here and you're doing your own. What's the difference, you think, between, like, now you're the program director technically, and then you run everything? Right. Was there a kind of a learning curve, or was it you just knew how to do it? You just got in there?
Well, and in all honesty, me being at KZI for so many years, and because KZI has so many formats of music going on, I kind of took, and I didn't say stole or took, I don't want to say it in that way. I just kind of took how KZI had their formula and I put in San Diego Radio's formula, but I did it with different styles of music and a different types of shows and everything. And so if you listen to the San Diego Radio, you'll notice that I have a hip-hop show, we'll go to a country show, we'll go to a rock show, and go back to an 80s mainstream show, and then it goes back and forth to all different types of genres, and that's how I like to do it. I got an R&B, right now I got an Afrobeat show on the station. I also got Southern Soul. I got a Southern Soul show. Right now, the only genre of music that's not on my station right now is gospel. And I did have gospel for a couple of years, but due to demand, I had to let that go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, where do you host the show at? I guess physically, is it in Austin, Taylor?
It's in Taylor, from my house in Taylor. I lived in Taylor all my life and just drove back and forth to Austin whenever I worked or DJ'd or anything. Yeah, so pretty much it's from my house. It's from my house and everything. And and Tavar Marshall doesn't help me anymore. He's doing his own thing now. So pretty much I'm by myself now doing everything. The only person that's helping me, and shout out to him, is Jonathan Sanchez out of San Antonio. He's helped me do some programming and doing some promotional stuff himself. So I want to thank him for coming aboard and helping me out.
Okay, that's awesome. So now we get into some like technical stuff. Like we were talking about the new artists or new music or music that's been coming down the pipe and the industry itself. You know how the industry has changed so much. It's like, man, we just went from cassette all the way back up. So as far as promotions and how artists are trying to get out there now, because you're still in the same game, you're trying to help the underground artists. I mean, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing from their side, and then some of the things, like you said, some of them are being a little lazy with their promotions.
Yeah. So out of respect to your show, you want me to go there?
I mean, we can go there because my thing is I want them to learn and to understand that it's the thing is from their perspective. I know their viewpoint of it, which is I was an artist, so and I owned a label, so my thing was I need you to play my music. That's the key.
Right.
But a lot of them don't have the insight to be able to get to your mind to see why you're not playing their music. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's because their mindset is not on radio right now.
Right.
A lot of artists these days, their mindset is not on radio. It's more about the streaming. And right now, the streaming is what's hurting artists, and I'm against the streaming. I am totally 100% against the streaming, especially since the streaming is not paying artists what they deserve.
That's correct.
And a lot of people don't understand my philosophy on this also, but I get into arguments with people every day, is that all that went downhill when people stopped listening to CDs.
That's true. No, that's a fact. That's 100%.
And a lot of people are like, well, CDs are never coming back. You just got to live with it and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. I said, CDs are not coming back only because you chose to tell the CDs not to come back. I said, I still feel 100% to this day that if artists got together and realized that they made more money off of CDs than they're streaming their music, then if we all got together, CDs could come back if we all put our mindset together. But we're not doing that. We're all focused on the modern, the way it is, the way the industry wants us to see us now, and they're believing that. I don't believe it. I hate it. I can't stand it because artists does not do their promotions like they should. It's because they're lazy. It's because they think stuff should happen overnight, and because of not having those CDs, they feel like it should happen faster, and they're not getting it.
Yeah. See, I think it's a like you said, the industry itself, it changed, and the industry's always trying to be funny. They always try to, it's about control. And like you remember the 8-tracks, you remember cassettes, you remember vinyl, you remember all that. So the whole streaming thing, MP3 thing, that was a control move because of Napster and because of the way everything popped off, and they needed control. So they tried this move, and they really thought in the beginning, it was going to pan out, but then it didn't for a second, and independent artists really started to make money, and we kind of opened up the industry just opened. But then, like you said, they came back, and they came back stronger, and they were like, look, we're going to create this thing called streaming. We're gonna actually put a name to it, and we're gonna put an industry back in here that will work for us versus the artists and the producers. like you said, the artists nowadays, they don't even understand how much money that they're losing. They can't see it.
Because with the streaming, and because of everything becoming modernized, anybody can produce their song, record their song in their home, where they can produce it however they want to produce it, and they can go right to streaming without being no criteria, without being
right.
You know, when it comes to streaming, there's no such thing as somebody sitting there listening to the music saying, okay, well, this is not produced right, this is not mixed right, this is not mastered right. You could just do it, and it's done.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfair. The artists that don't have the talent, that makes it unfair to the ones that do have the talent.
You know what? Now that the only thing I think about that, I take of it like is, I'm appreciative of it. I love the fact that you can put it up there, and you can put it up there any kind of way you want, because you know why? The industry would never let anybody put their music in the game. They just would pick and choose who they wanted to be, you know, the person that would play or not play. Now the people can choose what they like and what they don't like. And if you put something up there and people don't like it, now you see it for, you know, well, in a way, you know, now they have companies that will help you get your streams up, and that's even crazier, where they just balloon your streams. But the bad side of it is, even if you look at it from that perspective and say, let's say we all were on an even platform, everybody sends up their music to the streaming platform, and there's nobody to help you push those streams up. Now you would get a real sense of who's getting played, because people would just gravitate to the ones that are, you know, they like. But now they're still not getting no money. That's my issue with it. I don't really care about the other part of it. You're not giving me no money for my streams, man. It's like, if I sold a CD, man, I get $5. If I was going through distributor, you get $5. You ain't getting no money.
Yeah, but even aside from that, they're more worried about the playbacks on stream than even actually trying to even sell the song through iTunes or whatever platform they want to go through. It's like,
that's true.
They're not even pushing the sales part of it. All they're pushing is, add this to your playlist, add this to your Spotify playlist. I'm like, why? Why? You might get a little fame from being added to somebody's playlist, but you're not going to get no more money than what you're getting.
And that's the difference between the artists nowadays. They really don't. It's almost like they don't understand, because, again, they didn't do that grind. We were talking about that the other day.
Right.
Excuse me. that grind of going on the road, that grind of, you know, we didn't have internet. So we had to go on the car show tours, and we had to, you know, hit cities. And in order to go to Miami, to get things to people in Miami, we literally had to go to Miami to go give it to them, you know, and hand them CDs and talk to them and that kind of thing. So you build fan base. You actually build your fans. But with you just throwing music up on the air and really not, you know, kind of engaging with with the people that are liking your music, which I guess if they have Instagram or social media, they're able to kind of connect a little better than we could. But it's like you said, you got to do the work. You have to. You can't just send that stuff up there and think people are going to just love you.
And I believe for a lot of these artists that did the work, and if we could rewind just a minute, I want to say that when I went back to KZI in 2010, right after that, and I'm not saying, and again, I'm not claiming to say I started anything. I just want to say that around that time is when I started doing live showcases, and I would call the Texas Artist Showcase, and I started doing that, and it was a monthly thing. And I will say, before I started doing a monthly thing, I don't remember anybody doing anything on a monthly basis before me.
No, and that's the one reason why, you know, even the show that I do is that I bring in, you know, to me, the icons of Austin, the people who have done so much to help artists or help themselves, or even them, it might not even be DJs or musicians, but they're in the community that help Austin in general. You are what you are. You help a lot of people, man.
And as I started doing them live shows, I started seeing more and more people doing other shows at other places, and it's almost like they had the same idea. And I'm like, and people say this is probably my fault, I guess you could say, or or me as a fault, is that when I started seeing that, I started to get upset, and I was like, why are they trying to copy me? You know? And the other people would tell me, well, if they're copying you, that means you're doing something right.
That's right. It's flattery.
It had to grow. I had to grow into a sense of, well, okay, it's a good thing. They're still doing the independent artists. They're still, other artists are getting on their shows, not only mine. So I had to. So at first, I didn't take it well, and I think maybe during that process, I caused some artists to start hating on me and everything. But as time went on, I started realizing, well, okay, well, like I said, if they're doing it, then somebody needs to do it across the board, not just one person. And I'm glad that more people caught on to it, whether it was me or not, and they started doing it because they gave more artists, gave more shows for artists to be on.
Yeah, that's to me, that's the biggest kudo and the biggest thing that I always looked at you as, and I always would give you total props, and even today, as you see, that's the main thing. You helped a lot of underground artists, myself included, a lot of my label. If it wasn't for you playing the music, because see, I can give a lot of people, I can say, yeah, this DJ played this and this DJ played that, but I will always give you your props, because you know what, you did play our music, you played it. Whether you did, and sometimes you were real. You would call me up, or you would see me at the station and you say, hey, man, I'm just ain't feeling this right here, man. This ain't gonna get it. And I didn't, and you never, I never got mad about nothing. I was like, you know what, this ain't gonna get it. I go back to the studio, go tell the artist, hey man, we got this particular song. He ain't feeling it. And then I would now, I just didn't go off of that. I would go and try it with the other DJs, and they would pretty much give me the same thought process. And I'm like, you know what? It's not working. We need to come back with something new. But you always help the underdog. You always help the people that really didn't have a voice, and that's something that people got to understand.
But remember, even while you took a back seat to your own stuff and started promoting artists yourself, I kept on telling you the whole time, well, when you gonna do more? When you do more Albert Redeaux stuff? When you gonna do more R&B stuff? And you kind of put that on the back burner. And I think I kind of got mad at myself, because I was like, well, he doing all these rappers. I said, where's his stuff at? I'm like,
the industry, and that's why I bowed out, because I pretty much blew my own self, and I just hurt myself. I blew up, just sitting there. The industry took me in, like, when you get into the industry, you go in one way, and then it starts to manipulate and push you, and as I got more and more and more and more and more and bigger, hip hop music was pretty much bigger than R&B at that time. As far as like me making money, I could produce music and get paid more money than I could doing R&B. And so I completely just shut down off the R&B, and I, just pulled down the throttle, and I just went straight hip hop. And, no regrets on it. I love my artists and love my people, even people that I produce. But like you said, it did kill off that movement. And then I had to like sit there in this movement that I'm in, and I'm like, okay, where is my music? Like, what happened to me? Can I play? Can I still sing? But that's the funny thing. I sung on almost all of the music that I produced, even for other people. But like you said, I appreciate the fact that you really, really, really cared for a lot of artists, man. And they, and a lot of people, I don't care one way or the other, whether they like you, love you, hate you, whatever.
Right. Well, and
they got to give you the credit.
And I do want to say this, other than me just critiquing the music, I mean, there were, throughout everything that I've done, there was always some controversy around certain things, and controversy here, controversy there. And a lot of people started hating me because of controversial stuff, and I don't want to go into detail about it. But I will say, even with the controversial stuff that I might have started or might have had my opinion on or whatever, I've always, and this is where artists got it wrong, okay? Even with my controversial stuff on how I believed about certain things, topics, or whatever your excuse is for hating me right now, whatever it is, I never tried to deviate it from the actual musical aspect of it. If me and you disagreed on a topic, we just disagreed, and if I controversially said something about our disagreement, then that's only because of that disagreement. Now, when it came down to your music, if you would have kept on submitting your music to me, I would have kept on playing it, because I always separate the music from whatever the disagreement was.
And I can attest to that. Yeah.
And a lot of artists took that wrong. They felt like, well, me and them got into an argument, well, they couldn't submit their music anymore, So I never heard from them again. And I still haven't heard from some of them to this day. I still haven't heard from them because they feel like they can't at least agree to disagree and move on. They're like, well, if you feel this way, then we don't want you playing my music. I'm like, what's that got to do?
Right. And that's the funny thing about it. Your personality and the way your persona, I guess, on radio was, again, it was really, before Charlemagne, it was you. I mean, you had to just be there to understand it. I mean, you were very unapologetic about it.
But a lot of the controversial stuff wasn't on the air type stuff. It was behind the scenes type stuff.
Right.
Whether it was on Facebook, social media, or whatever. That's when all that stuff started. I'm like, because like they say, like when you text somebody or when you comment or something on Facebook, you don't actually hear the expression of how you typed it or anything. And so
that's
a
correct.
lot of people, I would type certain stuff and people would take it wrong, and I'd be like, well, I didn't mean it in that way. I mean, And then
right.
But a lot of times it was too late. They'd be pissed off. They're like, oh, well, we don't want you playing our music. And then they started hating on me. They started rallying, get a bunch of people behind them that hate on me as well. And I just got to the point where I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to hate on me, then I guess it's your loss, not mine,
Well, and you know what? And seeing on a positive note of that, like you said, I feel like, you have really, put in the work and the time and the effort, and you really did a real service for the Austin community, especially the artists, whether they, like I said, whether you like it or don't, it's a fact. And I appreciate it. And I know a lot of the people out that was listening to the music at the time, a lot of artists that wouldn't have never gotten, that love. And, I know a lot of them, that was it. It was a staple.
And some of the artists that you're actually talking about, they're still putting out stuff to this day. And,
that's true.
And to this day, I like what they're doing. But whenever I get a hold of them to send me their music or tell them I want to add them to my rotation, they still insist on me not having anything to do with them, and they won't let me. So
yeah.
I'm like, whatever.
And you know what?
Again, it's their loss. They can't be added to what I'm doing,
And that's something I'm hoping that even with my show and with a lot of other things that we're doing out here in the public, that's the one thing that I really think that hurts the city itself, and it hurts, just us as a unit. And you were there at that time, and so you can really, really say it from the heart on that one. We, as Austin artists, promoters, producers, club owners, radio station, DJs, all the way around, we really help push a lot of other movements, whether it was, Houston, Dallas, whatever, San Antonio, right. You name it, or even out past that. We really pushed other narratives. But when it came to us, as far as a city and us pushing our own music and us really working together and building, we really, I would say we didn't fail, but we just didn't, have that unity enough to really make that market move. And I'm hoping that in the future right. that we're able to push a new narrative for younger artists that are coming along, and that we can be a staple for them. And they say, oh, those are the guys that did this and that and the other. Yeah, well, this is how we do it. This is how we push. This is how we move. We move like this. We've seen what happened in the past. Let's see if we can go forward and help
right.
some of those guys
right.
and push them.
Right, definitely. So I mean, so I'm still here for them. And if anybody's listening right now that's supposedly one of my haters or whatever, I directing to you, I want you to understand that, hey, that's all in the past now. If we could agree, disagree, and move on, hey, I'm ready to push your stuff like nothing ever happened. And
how do they get? If people just all over the world, whoever that wants to get to your station, how do they do it? Is it just straight emailing you the MP3s, and tell them what format you want them to send stuff into?
Email. I prefer MP3s. InsanelyGiftedRadio@gmail.com. Now, even with the artists from overseas, and only because I don't have enough time on my hands to be going through all these emails, please send me your MP3 and make sure the file's attached to the email. I have a hard time going to links and I understand your service packs and everything, but sometimes I just don't have all that time to be downloading all that stuff, and going
right.
through the stuff. I mean, if you send your bio and stuff, I'll read your bio in your email, but send all that in the email so I can actually physically see it and not have to go download it from somewhere else,
Gotcha.
And then because I'm one person, that makes it easier on me. And a lot of my rock artists, a lot of my country artists, that Even some of them don't understand that. They be sending me stuff all day long with links and links and links, and they just don't know. They begin deleted because I don't have time. You know.
So is it? You just said something about it. You have an album. You doing some work behind the scenes, doing some work. So what we got going on?
I'm trying to do one last hurrah, one last album, I guess you say, for me, because I can say I've done it, and then I'll be done with my part, my artist part of it, I guess you could say. Of course, on my other two projects, I went by White Brother, a.k.a. Whitey Wonka, because some of my songs are controversial, and some of them will never get played on radio, and some of them still might not. But but I am focused on a certain song I'm producing right now that I want to come out. I plan on doing a video for it and everything, and it's kind of like the highlight of my radio career. I'm talking about in it, and it's gonna ruffle some feathers. It's not real controversial, but it's real factual, and people are gonna think that some of the facts are controversial. But hey, it's just what it was. So I'm trying to finish up that song. I want to get a video done to it and everything, and the title of the song by the White Brother. The title of the song is called Blacker Than Black.
Okay, and that's another question. Where did you get the name White Brother? Where did that come from? Where did you get DJ White Brother from?
Well, back when I started, remember I told you when I switched from country to R&B, some of my family members, not that they were being racial or anything, but when I switched to R&B, they were like, somebody just made a comment, man, you, and then they didn't say the word black or anything. That's why I never used that word. But they said that you're like somebody else told me. They said you're like a black man trapped inside a white man's body.
Okay.
And so I just kind of ran with it, and I said White Brother, and over the years, and not to go back into the controversial stuff, but some people, that's one of the reasons why they hate on me too, because they didn't like me going by the White Brother. So that's when I would tell everybody, okay, well, don't call me White Brother, just shorten it, call me WB. I'm fine with WB. So that's how I know the ones have a problem with it and the ones who don't. Some will call me the WB, and some will just call me straight out my real name, Todd, instead of saying White Brother.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, see, I liked it. I thought it was clever. I was like, you know what? That's an Austin thought in my mind, in my head. As soon as I heard of White Brother, I said that's live, because it just, it is what it is. You know what I mean? You're not being disrespectful at all. I thought it was just a clever play.
And I will say, not to make it a racial thing, I will say some of my controversy in leaving KZI had nothing to do with black people. It had to do with white people being jealous of me.
Yeah, I can see that. And it is a thing in the community. It's like, people want to have that whole issue. This is music, man. And if the whole goal was you're playing music, I mean,
right.
how
music? I don't care what color it came from.
Yeah, I'm not.
And then people had
that's
the nerve
crazy
to call me racist, and I'm like, what? I'm like,
like you said,
I might say the truth sometimes about some things, but that doesn't make me racist.
No, again, like you said, if racist, people throw that around, a little too loosely sometimes. When you racist, you racist. There's no, ain't no, there's no back door to that one.
And even though some people say it's a typical, it could be the typical excuse of a racist. My answer would always be, okay, well, if I'm racist, why am I at a black radio station?
Well, and why are you helping black people? That's the next thing. You wouldn't even be trying to help them or play the music, or you wouldn't even be doing any of that. I mean, it just, why put yourself in a situation like that? Right. You be at a black radio station playing black music. I mean, that's crazy.
So before anybody ever hears a song or before it comes out, I titled it Blacker Than Black only has like in a metaphorical sense because of my White Brother name and everything. So
right.
I say that in the song only because I want to get my point across. And
right,
so that's the song. And the song's pretty much done. I'm just having a few issues on whether I want to mix this way or that way. And so I'm in that process right now.
When is it coming out?
I have no idea. I've had a few people hear the song already, and they claim that when it comes out, it's gonna start some stuff. But
when is the total album going to be done? As far as
it just started. I have artists that have committed to collabs. They haven't not done them yet, and I'm getting tired of waiting. So I'm trying to go more towards the artists that are ready to get it done. You know,
Yeah.
instead of the ones that I want.
I just sent tracks in, so I know I'm trying to get on. I'm trying to put one on there.
Oh
with you.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. So Albert, you sent me a track, and that's definitely going to make the album. I mean, you told me to give you an idea. You ran with the idea, and I love the way you did it. Yeah.
Cool. So I just
wait for
wanted to get
everybody
on
to
there. I wanted to get on there. Like I said, I haven't. Man, I'm sharpening back my tools because I'm out here. I'm doing my own thing.
Well, back in the day, you produced me some tracks back in the day when I was doing my stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'm just trying to, especially as certain artists, certain people, certain DJs, they can ask me for anything, and they ask me for something, and I'll immediately stop what I'm doing, and I'll go.
And I really didn't even ask you. You're the one that asked me if I needed it.
I saw a post, and when I saw the post, you was like, "Hey, I'm trying to get people to do this," and you were waiting on somebody to send it.
And if anybody's listening right now, if any of them are listening right now, I will say some of the artists that I've asked to collab with me on the album, if you don't get a chance to collab with me, I'm not hating on you. I understand you're busy doing other things, and if I stop harassing you or bugging you about it, then that's just the reason. I know I see you're doing things. So if I moved on to somebody else, don't get mad I didn't include you because it's not in a bad way. It's just
I'm part of the old industry. I grew up in the old industry with my mom and that kind of thing. So, you didn't take things personal. You bring in music or tracks or something like that. People don't like them. They just didn't like them, and you say, okay.
With the same post that you've seen, I actually had artists respond on them posts. Well, what about me? What about me? And I'm like, well, not that I didn't think about you, but there's so many artists. How can you think of everybody at once?
Right.
So the ones that did respond to me on my post, y'all, I'm looking out for y'all. Y'all be getting something. Yeah.
Yeah, see, because that's the thing. I'll tell. This is something for new and young artists, and I hope that this. No matter where you are, when you say it, you do it. That's the biggest thing that if I can ever get to you to understand. I know when opportunities come that you jump. You like, oh my God, I can do this, and you may put yourself out there, and then you can't get it done, or you're not able to get it done. Be honest, hey, I thought I could do this. I can't get it done right now. I can't meet the timeline. Or either you put yourself out there when you're ready. You say, you know what? I can do this.
Because, again, not hating, but some of these artists, I have reached out to them one last time, and I said, hey, are you still going to do this for me? And they say, yeah, and then I don't hear from them.
And that's unprofessional. And that's the thing I'm getting to. You got to be professional, man. And that shows people. Throughout my career, that was my thing. If you came in for studio time, I was going to be there on time. I was going to be there to do your record. Right. If I promised you a track, I'm going to get you your track. And, because it's my name attached to that thing. I don't want that person doing it.
And part of my album delay was not solely because of them. It was because my studio was down. I had a couple of computers that the hard drives went out on me, and I had to start from scratch. And
yeah, gotta love that.
When you start from scratch, you gotta get all new stuff, and it's not the same old stuff because some of the old stuff that you had is not available anymore. And
that's right.
So there was a time to where I got pissed, and I was like, what, I'm just gonna stop everything altogether because this new software is coming out. I don't know how to use this new software. I want the old software. I'm like, where's the old software at? The old software that crashed on my hard drive, I cannot get it back. You go to a computer geek, and they will tell you, well, it will not work on this operating system. I'm like, why? Get it to work. You're supposed to be a computer geek. I'm like, yeah.
Man, that's the only thing I had to learn over the years is every time something would go down or not go down, but they would come up with a new thing. I hate it. Oh man, I used to hate that. They would upgrade.
But the one thing I do say,
I hate it.
Like I said, I was against. My wife would tell you I hate learning new stuff, and so for a while I just refused. But I will say that now I'm back in the saddle. I'm trying to learn some of the new programs. I will say that by learning some of these new programs, once I'm learning them, I'm like, oh, that is easier than the other one.
Right.
You just got to learn it. You just got to figure out how their mindset was on the software.
Man, I moved from Cubase to what was it? My friend came over here with Studio One, the first version, And he was like, man, you got to check out Studio One. You got to check out Studio One. And I'm like, dude, I'm really just, I like this. You know,
and
I didn't want to move, man. But he said, all he said was one thing. He said, Teddy Riley uses it. I go, oh, yeah, let me go check it out. Let me see. Let me go see what you got. Because I'm a huge fan.
To give you an idea of how much I had to learn, okay, I would say, I never have and I never will use Pro Tools. I'm against Pro Tools.
I've used it. I just never owned. I never had it in my studio.
I know how, because I got a degree in using Pro Tools, but I'm not using it. Okay, I use, like a former Cubase. I use Nuendo. Okay.
Yeah, Nuendo's awesome.
And,
yeah,
and I love Nuendo. But to give you an idea, when my computer hard drives went down, I was using Nuendo 3.
Oh my God!
I was still using Nuendo 3 because it was working for me.
Wow, that's way back.
Now that I'm back up, I got Nuendo 12.
That's a
12,
and that's a huge jump
to go from 3 to 12.
3 to 12. Yes. Yeah, that's like, man. Okay, that's light years. You know. Oh my God. Yeah, that's pretty far back, and I still love Cubase. Don't get it twisted. I like all the formats.
I do all my music production in Cubase, and then I transfer it over to Nuendo when I'm ready to record.
I love all those formats. I love everything. I have tried every format of if you want to say a DAW that you can possibly have. I've tried every one. I mean, I just love to, what is this? How does this work? How does this Fruity Loops? How you work? But I think Studio One it really. I love the mixing and the mastering side of it, and of course, the DAW. I love the way it's set up.
There's so many ways of doing things these days. I'm like, hey, if you get it done and it sounds right, then it doesn't matter what you use as long as it sounds right in the end.
Shoot, man, I you know how many times I've heard, I've been to conferences and everything else, and you find major artists that have dropped like hit songs, and man, I did this on a 2-track, and you're like, what? You did what on a 2-track? I did this song on a 2-track. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. That's impossible. How did it sound like that? I don't know. And then you find out they really did it on a 2-track, and you're like, okay, dude, come on, man. Yeah. But that's like you said. Sometimes it's not about the equipment. Sometimes you can do that equipment thing all you want, and it's not gonna make it any better. It's the music, it's the sound, it's how you feel about it. You know what I mean?
Even with the very little equipment I had back in the day, I still would go to the studio and I'll do everything on the big 1-inch reel to reels.
Oh yeah, man, them reels. Ooh, boy, I miss them things. Me and Cass was talking about them things, man. Splicing and cut. My parents used to do that. Man, would cut the tape, and you'd have to connect. Oh man, I used to tear up the tapes, and I was a little kid. I used to mess up stuff, man. He's trying to get in there and do their stuff, man. I didn't care. But man,
these young artists will never know about all that.
Man, that was fun. Oh my God, that was fun. I mean, you just, like you said, those old days, man, pushing music was a whole different. It was just, even the 90s was just totally different. I mean, just the artistry of it. Man, we had some great musicians.
And we could talk 2 hours on this next subject, but I was going to briefly say, you know how I feel about auto-tune. I hate auto-tune.
Yeah, auto-tune. Oh man, auto-tune is a whole.
But I do have auto-tune now. I haven't used it yet, but I there was a point to where I did do a song in auto-tune, and I proved it to some people. This is the way you're supposed to use it. People are using auto-tune.
Oh yeah.
People are using auto-tune in the wrong way.
Auto-tune has been used, and it may not have been called auto-tune at the time, but people have been using auto-correction is really what it is. They've been using that since, man, I'm talking about long, way, way, way back. And it just wasn't used in the way it is now because, again, the kids took it and they created a format for it, and that's the way they do their music now. And I'm not hating on them. That's their music. It's not my music. They used to call our music trash. I remember my parents used to hate hip hop, and my grandparents, we ain't gonna go there. Oh, yeah. But I remember artists used to hate rap music. I'm talking about, hate it to death. Hey, you don't even remember back in the day, we had no radio stations. Remember that? This was back in, I'm talking about Run DMC, but before then, you could not go to the radio and play rap music. There was no rap stations, period. None.
Right. My first rap experience was I was in high school, and I heard it from the black people, not the stereotype, but the black people coming to school and rapping the lyrics of the song, and I'm like, what is that? You know?
Now, yeah, what is that? What I tell you what is the first hip hop song you heard? Her first rap song you ever heard?
Basketball by Curtis Blow.
Wow. Yeah, that was a hell of a track right there, man. That was what 83, 80, 82, somewhere around that range. It had to be in the 80s because I was in junior high school.
But it was because of that song, not to make it any less than what it was. But when I heard that, I was like, you know what? I think I could rap, and I started writing. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that was such a great song back then. So that's the song that really just stuck in your head right off the bat.
Yeah. It wasn't Rappers Delight. It was Basketball. You know, which was a little bit after Rappers Delight. But,
Rappers Delight.
Yeah.
That was my first. That was it for me. That was my first time ever hearing anything like. I heard the music. You know, of course we had. I forgot Africa Mabata and all that. You know. You would hear all the that kind of music as far as for popping and locking and all that kind of stuff, but rapping, oh man, when I heard that I was like, oh, I'm stuck on this is whatever this dude is doing. You know what tripped me out about that song? I was in Colony Park. My name is Albert, of course, but this dude's name is Albert too, and so we in the hood, and his dad had like one of those old record players, and so he's playing the vinyl. And he's and I'm listening, and you hear the doom, 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 and I'm like, so I'm my mind, because I'm a musician, I hear the real version of the song, like I'm hearing the background of it, and I'm like, hey man, I know that song, but then all of a sudden the dude, they say the hip, the hop, and I'm like, whoa, what's that? Wait a minute, what's he doing over there? Where's the singing at? What's going on? Wait, you can't do that. You can't take a rapper he wasn't a rapper. I didn't know what he was doing. He was, just doing some kind of rhyme over the record. And then he kept playing it. I was like, oh my God, I said, man, this dude is going off. He started talking about TVs on the ceiling and okay. I'm like, what the hell? Oh, this is awesome. Play it again. Man, we played that record about 20 times in his house, made his dad mad. He took the record off and we were just bitten. I mean, I loved it. It was just such a culture moment for me. And so hip hop is what it is, man. But I know I got to let you get on and get back to what you doing in life.
I was going to say, how long is this show going to be? Because we could talk all day long.
Oh man, hey, this is history. For me, this is history. So I try to keep it, I don't cut too much. I try to keep it as authentic as I can straight through.
And as much as I appreciate you inviting me on this show and everything, I will say that whatever I have done or what people think I've done or not done or whatever, I don't go around flaunting it. I don't go around bragging about it. So you'll be surprised at some people I come across and I just happen to say some things. They look at me like kind of funny, and I'd be like, well, yeah, I know this person. They like, and look at me like, what? They don't think that I would have done something like that looking at me now,
Oh yeah, see that, and that's the reason why I love this, because I get to shine lights on people who have really done a lot for the community and have helped us in music and other forms of art. And they I want to give you your flowers now, so you can have it, so you can say, okay, yeah, this is me, I did that, yeah, and I want people to know that this is what happened. This is real history here in Austin.
And again, as much as I've done, I'm still here and I'm still doing it. And for the ones that, if you have a problem with me, inbox me. Let's talk. Let's chat. Let's agree to disagree and move on. And I'm ready to pump you up just like I did back in the day.
And that's a good thing. That's what we all should be doing is like you said, we all getting older. It doesn't make sense to have all these beefs and all that. Ain't nobody beefing out here. Real beef is real beef. There's no beef. Right. It's just grown people, grown men sitting down and grown women just sitting down and talking and getting the understanding and then moving forward in their life. But man, I'm gonna get on out of here, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on, man. It's just an honor, and I'm just loving it to death, man. But I really, 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 really appreciate you coming on the show.
Okay, well, I appreciate you talking to me as well, and I definitely, and when I get my single done, I'll let you hear a piece of it.
Oh, definitely, I can't wait to hear that. That's gonna be awesome. So, for the Austin Icon podcast, man, I always say peace to everybody, man. So, peace to you and peace to everybody out there in the world. Man, let's just keep it moving. All right, man.
I be posting while the house and the boys gon' hate. Some boys be popping trunk, but I be popping tailgates. The trophy truck, shit, no book.